director just pulled up.
With the creek itself, so you have the running creek.
We're here live at the Rocksprings Park. Right now we're in the open house portion of the meeting for tonight.
Okay, because that's where we're having issues, is nobody's really telling us what the water district or San Jose, what your areas are covering. So maybe you can probably eventually help us. But thank you so much.
Happy to do it. It's been a long time. Actually, I was really excited.
Yeah, no, it's been a little while, so
yeah.
it's good. It looks pretty good.
Holds up. Yes.
Yeah, that looks really good. Oh, a little easier for people to see what
Yeah.
that. Yeah, no, I'm glad we're doing the hybrid. That really makes it nice.
Yeah, no,
Robert, is the audio on?
Exactly.
Okay.
And I was just
So this is a
remembering one
live
of your commentary
microphone?
during the board meeting.
Hi, Mike.
And then if I think I should real quick over
That's a 5 to 5. Like the wall, they backfill around it, so it's going to be an easy remove and replace.
Welcome to our Facebook audience. We're here at the Rocksprings Park. In a few minutes, at about 5 o'clock, we'll get started with the presentation. As you can see here, we have several boards on display. If you go to our website, valleywater.org, and click on the Coyote Creek project, you'll see that you can download and print out the same boards that we have here on display, as well as the agenda, the informational sheet, and a survey where we'll be asking your comments on the card. And if you want to come down and join us here live at the meeting, we are at the corner of Needles Drive and Rocksprings Drive here in the park. Thank you.
Test 1, 2.
Bug me because I can't access any of this stuff right now that would really tell me like, wait, where's this? That I'm like, I can't. It just doesn't make any sense that it's there. It's got to go around. It just doesn't make any sense.
Oh yeah, then you're not going to be putting a berm in everyone's stuff.
Thank you for joining us today. We're going to get started right around 5 o'clock. But in the meantime, we have coffee to warm you up. We have water if you're thirsty. And we have some snacks. So please help yourself out to some snacks. If you haven't already come up here and seen the boards are here for you to review. And of course, we have Alec and Julianne, who are part of the project team. So they're here to answer any questions you might have. So feel free to come up. And so at about 5 o'clock, we'll get started with the program and the presentation. And if you haven't gotten, there's an agenda. And we're also going to ask you to fill out a survey before you leave. So we really appreciate it if you help us, let us know how we did, and as well as give us, ask any other questions that might have not been answered during the meeting. So, thank you.
Any questions, let us know.
Oh, great. Thank you. Hey, Michael. Hi, I'm Jay with Valley Water.
Oh, great to see you again.
Yeah. Hey, so we see the spot right here for the council member. I'm assuming she's coming?
I'm sorry. Unfortunately, I was the last minute fill in. She's not going to be able to make it.
Oh, she's not going to be able to make it. Okay.
I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
She had something come up with the last minute.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me let the chair know so that he can indicate that there's staff here from her office. Okay, we were saving that spot for her.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think Adriana from our office had reached out, but maybe that got lost in the.
Okay. Have you met the church tomorrow?
Yeah, we certainly met at past events.
Okay. So, yeah, we should. We'll let them know that she's not coming after all. So that
Mic check, mic check, mic check.
Well, and it could be that maybe they have an easement out there, or maybe they have an easement to access their property. I know this is all the zoning.
city fences that the city takes too long. It's illegal. They don't have the resources to move them out, or they can move them out and 2 days later they come back. Hello. Mic check, mic check. How are we doing there? We doing good? Hi Facebook, we're just doing some sound testing. I didn't bother to walk out there because I was scared. I live in this first set of buildings right here. I got enough problem with this parking lot and this, this disc golfers up there. Those guys are really respectable. But as a command practice, they're far away. And I hear people flying in 50 miles an hour. It's just insane what goes on. When I moved in, this was pretty quiet. They do a lot more events now over here at History Park. And it's really annoying. I tried to ask get events put in to see out in the city. Never got a response. They're not going to spend money on events these days, I was told. So who knows? One day maybe. They just came in and cleaned out this whole area here for fire protection because the homeless keep lighting fires in the park. And now they're worried about that, the fires coming in and hurting our buildings. So they cleared it all out, and now it's worse. Now I can see more that I didn't want to see.
Okay, so almost, you're better protecting the sunset than it's worth.
Alrighty. You guys already answered my questions, but I'll hang out for a little bit. Hopefully it warms up with the breeze stops. And I am never cold, and now I'm getting cold. It's very odd. Wind chill.
Yeah. Okay, okay. I think so too. I think there's an economic scale and yeah, it's up to shifted. Yeah, so okay. Yeah, I think so. There's making a sense for it to be there. Yeah, it would make sense to protect these guys. Allow this to go Oh yeah, yeah, perfect. Okay. I'm sorry, I just Randy? Yeah, so this confirms that map is incorrect. It is gonna go around.
Very good. You're going to build this. The green's the berm. So that's going to protect this whole side and go down to there. And what happens when the water goes over there?
So
Or is that the park?
that's kind of that's the parking lot. So this will flood in a flood event, but the berm will protect the water main. Yeah. This is wrong. So I'm glad you said something because it allowed us to fix that map for future.
How long have you been with this group?
So I've been with this project my whole time at Colorado, but I've only been here just over a year.
Do you ever see it?
No.
This is the flood.
Oh wow.
So you can see.
Yeah.
These are where I live over here. This is that last one. This is pretty far to the right. And then this is center. The water came across center. This is where we are right now. Pretty bad. people lost their cars. Just got so much flood damage. I left my motorcycle in my garage thinking, how bad can it get? And I put sandbags up. It's real, our garages are all in one line, they're all attached. So I really wanted to help because I did it, but nobody else did. The water would just go in. But I left my motorcycle in there, and I got 28 inches of water. And luckily, it did not wreck my motorcycle. I was able to save it. Unfortunately, my garage got trashed. There's my bike. And then the garage was closed, and some people drove out. And when they drove out, they created this wave from their tires. And that wave went in and, of course, trashed my garage door. No, it was a whole row, but the way the wave went, it hit my garage, and the metal cracked the whole garage door. It was pretty screwed up wood. So that made it even worse. So I lost a bunch of stuff. I should have got it done in my 480. I saved her. Sent the city out on bailing because now that water was contaminated and people were walking in it, so they were hosting the fog. Hotel here.
Yes.
Oh, got all the pictures of the flood.
Oh wow. Hello. Hello everyone. We're going to go ahead and get the meeting started. I'm Jose Villarreal. I'm with Valley Water's Office of Communications. I want to welcome everyone here joining us, as well as our folks that are joining us on Facebook Live. If you're on Facebook Live, as you can see here right behind me, we have boards. Those boards can be downloaded from our website for you to view while we're discussing the project. You go to valleywater.org and you look under projects, and you'll see the Creative Creek project. You'll be able to download the boards, the agenda, an informational sheet that we've also are handing out here as well. Today we're going to get an update on the project, specifically talking about the Rocksprings Park and Coyote metals and the elements related to their preferred alternatives, as well as we'll have an opportunity for people to ask questions to the staff. The project team is here, and they'll be asking. They'll be here to answer all your questions. But before we get started, I also want to invite our interpreters that are here. We have Vietnamese interpreter. Can you please step up, please, and introduce yourself, and then we also have
xin mời đến bàn ở cuối dãy kia để mà nhận ống nghe để mà có thể nghe toàn bộ buổi họp hôm nay bằng tiếng Việt. Xin cảm ơn quý vị.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes. Para los que necesitan servicio de interpretación en español, ahí atrás está la señorita con los aparatos para poder escuchar simultáneamente y estamos aquí para servirles.
Muchas gracias. Thank you. And so tonight we're joined by Valley Water Board Chair Tony Estremera, who represents this district. And next, I'd like to share some comments. Chair, welcome.
Great. Thank you, Jose. Welcome everyone, and thanks for coming by. I noticed some of you have been here before. We generally have done everything that we can to get back out to the public, make sure that we visit with you, keep you up on what we're doing. Tonight's one of those evenings when we invite you to ask all the questions that you can, especially give us your input. In the old days, in our district, we got the absolute best, most qualified engineers always working on our projects. They could do anything on their own. They don't need our input. And that's the way we used to do it in the old days, in fact. Engineers did what they did, and then we built the projects, and you guys saw them or not, but you paid for them, and you had to deal with them. And you had to deal with them or not. These days, we're a different organization. We make sure that we get input from the people who own not only our district, but the community and the people who pay for these projects. So that's why we have these public meetings. That's why we get on Facebook. That's why we try our best to get your input. Because you're the owners. Not our great, tremendous staff or the fantastic engineers that we have, but all of you. So I please invite you and ask you very kindly to please ask the tough questions now. Don't wait till afterward. Ask the heavy, hard questions now. Take advantage of the opportunity. That's why we're here. I know none of us, not all of us, engineers, I certainly am not. I know not all of us understand these maps, but we put them up just so that you could take a look at some of what we're planning, so that you can see what the alternatives are, and so that you can see what we want your input on. Do you like this alternative? Do you like that alternative? And so on. And tonight we're going to talk mostly about the parks. And parks are very important for all of us, especially I know for all of you. And so again, we want to make sure that you tell us this is in your neighborhood, this is in your area, this is where you live. And so we want you again to tell us what you think about our plans. We have some staff here from the recreation department of the city who are thankfully here to help us again answer questions. We also have some representatives from your council person. I think right over here, Maya Esparza staff. She's your councilwoman. Again, she coordinates with us to make sure that we're responsive to all of you. I lastly want to remind all of you about the drought. Wherever we go these days, we have to remember to, those of us from Valley Water have to remember to remind all of you of the challenges that these droughts give us. We know when there's a drought, but we don't know when it ends. And that's really the biggest challenge. But all of you, throughout all the different droughts that we've had, this is my 26 years, so I've seen an awful lot of them. Throughout this time, we always ask you to conserve. And the fact is that the community, all of you, have been very responsive, have always met the challenge. And not only that, but you've maintained the conservation. That's the reason why we're able to grow like we have. We have a tremendous job creating machine here. And so we attract a lot of people to this area. So we continue to grow, but you know what? We're using less water than we ever have because the community has always been responsive. You've always been responsible. And so we ask you again, tighten up a little bit, take advantage of some of our conservation programs. We have some great conservation programs available to you. The board this year has increased our investments in all of our projects. And so we encourage you to take advantage of those. If you haven't in the past, please do now. Call Valley Water and look at what we're offering, how we can help you. And again, ask you to call us. We've increased our staff immediately. The community responded, and we wanted to make sure that we were very responsive to you when you called us. So we hired a few extra staff to make sure that we could respond right away with our programs. So please take advantage of them. And once again, thank you very much for being here this evening. Again, encourage you to take advantage of the opportunity and ask all the questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Stromero, for your words. As he mentioned, we're here to get your input, to ask your questions, ask the tough questions. We have a top-notch project engineering team that's here, and they're ready to answer all your questions. And if you're on Facebook Live, you can submit your questions, and staff will relay those questions to us, and we'll make sure that we answer them for you here. And also a reminder that the boards that you see here are also available on the website for you to download, whether you want to look at them today or tomorrow or during the week, or if you want to share them with your neighbors, please do so. And we'll also have a recording of the meeting for folks to share. And also, if you forget to ask a question, we handed out a survey card, a survey question. So if you forget to answer a question, or you're shy about answering or asking the question here, fill it out, give it to one of us, and someone from the project team will get back to you with an answer as soon as we can respond. And next, I'd like to introduce the project team. We have Julianne Moore. Excuse me. Sorry, it's a slip there. Julianne, who's O'Brien, who's part of the project, and then we have Alec, who's also part of the project, and he'll be assisting us later on in answering questions once we're done with the presentation. Next, I'd like to bring Juliana.
Hi, thank you all for coming. So I'm Julianne O'Brien. I'm the project manager for the Coyote Creek Flood Protection and Flood Management Measures projects. Originally, the project was one project, a 9-mile stretch from Montague to Tully Road, and when the FOCP, so the FERC order for Anderson, came down last February, the project was split into two. We expedited about 40% of the project to tie into deliverables with the Anderson project. This project, or this portion of the project, is in Reach 8, which is from basically Story Road to Tully Road, and that is in the second phase of the project. So this construction will begin summer, late fall, or early fall of 2023. And as part of this project, we are going to update the existing wall and the existing levee, or vegetated berm. This wall was a temporary measure that was put in immediately after the 2017 flood event to protect the community. The new wall will be 1 foot taller, which is kind of shown with this orange tape through here, and it will also be longer, extending beyond this area past the basketball courts, and we're not sure exactly on the exact end point, but it will continue on that way, providing additional protection to the surrounding community. Additionally, the vegetated berm that this wall ties into will also go up 1 foot, and it will continue kind of around the creek and around the Springbrook condo area between the disc, and it will provide additional protection for the surrounding community and neighbors in that area. We're also here today to talk about the Coyote Meadows area. This is kind of the story area. We're also going to be constructing a flood wall in this area to protect the community nearby there. And I want to say that's a 4.5 foot flood wall. So here's a cross section, oh, excuse me, a 5 foot flood wall. So this is the 12th Street apartments, and showing kind of a cross section of what that flood wall will look like and the approximate location. This cross section here, it shows the flood wall that we're talking about and the extension. It'll be the existing flood wall is about 3 feet high at its highest, and the new one will be 4 foot high. Here we just have some pictures of what we can see right here. And then one of the other items that comes up frequently is kind of creek ownership and who is responsible for the creek. And for a good portion of the whole entire 9-mile stretch, but especially Reach 8, Valley Water doesn't actually own the creek. So this map kind of shows in color-coded who owns the creek. This green area here, this green area here, those are the only areas in Reach 8 where Valley Water actually owns the creek itself. We coordinate well with the city, who actually owns a good portion of this creek, and we do have easements in some of this area so that we can access it for some maintenance issues, but the majority of it we don't own. And then one of the other questions that has come frequently that we wanted to talk about is, while this project is tied to Anderson, there's the misconception that operating Anderson in a different way will reduce all the flooding downstream and that will be sufficient, and that's not the case. Even if we were to operate Anderson in a way where during a flood event 0 water is spilled from it, there would still be flooding downstream from all the tributary areas and the actual rain in the areas. That is why this project is still needed regardless of what happens with Anderson. The timing of it is just tied to their tunnel. Anything that I'm missing on? I got it all. At that time, I guess questions. Anyone have any questions?
I have the mic, so I can walk around if anyone wants to ask any questions, or I can field some questions while the juice is flowing. Yeah. Go ahead.
Wondering, as far as cleanup, are you guys actually going into the creek itself and cleaning it up?
There are some areas where we have done that, more so in Reach 5 recently, because we were not able to even get our survey crews in there to collect the data that we needed to construct the project. And some of those areas we did already own the property or the creek. We either we had a permission to enter document from the property owners. We were able to work with them. There were a couple other areas where we worked in conjunction with the city of San Jose to go in and do some of the creek cleanup. We've been a little bit limited in what we can do, like I said, partially because of creek ownership. I know with the pandemic as well, there's been some, I guess, difficulty in what we could do. We have to make sure that there's social services available for anyone that we are displacing from that area, and we need to work closely with the city to
Any other questions?
Sure. So, yeah, I think it has varied. I know most recently for Reach 5, we reached out to our O&M team, our operations maintenance team, and said, hey, we can't get what we need to construct this project. We need to be able to times, where maybe the cities come to us first. I'm not really sure how it is every time, but I can
Phone over so the audience members on Facebook Live can hear all the question as well.
So I'm interested in the impacts to the parks. So first off, these walls are just to prevent flooding in the housing areas around. The parkland itself will flood, and it's a basin for the water. So at the Kelly Park, the low parts of the zoo, that'll flood that'll be underwater during a major flood, I imagine, right?
Correct. We actually are not planning on doing anything over here by near Happy Hollow or Kelly Park. The closest is the berm that's going to wrap around near the disc golf park.
Okay. I'm interested in that little red line over by Coyote Meadows.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 5-foot wall there.
Correct.
There's that line across it is the railroad right-of-way, which is hoped to become the Five Wounds Trail. Will this wall impact that? Will the trail have to go over it or through it? Or under it, or how's that?
No, I can't remember exactly how it's lined up, but we are actually working closely with the Trails team to ensure that our projects will work well together and not impact each other.
And then there's another trail that goes much closer to the river. That'll just be underwater when there's a major flood, I imagine.
Correct.
And then the city gets to clean it up afterwards, or
there will be
cleans up the mud?
That'll be covered in either the joint trail agreement or the joint use agreement. But there's usually a Valley Water typically is responsible for the maintenance of the flood element portions, and then the city is typically responsible for aesthetics and the trail portion of anything.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll field some then for you.
Uh-oh.
So what I'm going to go through is the frequently asked questions that actually is available on the Coyote Creek webpage. So I have it printed out here, and I'm going to ask some of the questions that we receive pretty frequently or semi-regularly. There have been discussions about the creek cleanups that Julianne did address, as well as flooding in certain neighborhoods. And what I want to also clarify, and maybe Julianne, you can chime in and I can share a little bit about Anderson Dam and the two milestones. We did mention this is in the second phase of the Coyote Creek project, which is tied to Anderson, but also the first phase is also tied to Anderson. So after the FERC order, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, we love our acronyms here at Valley Water, so bear with us. When that order came down in February, as Julianne mentioned, in 2020, that created this split in the project. So we're still constructing the overall project that was presented to the public over the last several years during the planning phase. And after that order came, we had to accelerate, as Julianne mentioned, 40% of the approximate project. But what I'll clarify, go ahead.
Yeah, so all of Reach 5, portions of Reach 6, and portions of Reach 7 are now in that expedited portion of the project, which we've been referring to as the Coyote Creek Flood Management Measures Project. And that is currently under design. Construction is scheduled to begin late summer, early fall of 2022, and will be completed by the end of 2024. Yeah, sorry, 2023.
And why does it, and just so, as if I don't know, why does it have to be completed by the end of 2023?
Because that's when the new Anderson Dam tunnel will be activated, and it has the capacity of approximately 5 times what the old one did. So if we are in a situation where we would need to release water from Anderson through that tunnel, it has the potential those areas first. And so we had to expedite to protect those members of the community while we construct the rest of the project.
Right. So the current outlet at Anderson Dam can release up to 5,000 cubic feet per second. A cubic foot is about the size of 2 basketballs. So that's its current capacity to release water right now. When the Anderson Dam Tunnel project is constructed, that'll give an additional capacity of 2,000. So when both are operational, they'll be in the maximum capacity, be able to release 2,500 CFS downstream. Now, as Julianne mentioned, those elements that we've shown in yellow in reaches 5, 6, and 7 will be constructed to prevent flooding from that potential future release of 2,500 CFS. But that doesn't mean that those elements will need to be then retrofitted to handle the flows that the actual project is designed for, which is the 20-year storm event, which is the 2017 flood event. So those will be constructed. So we're not going to be coming, for example, in Reach 5, let's say, build a wall in 2023, come back a year later and have to add a foot to it, for example, right? So I want to clarify that one. Then the rest of the elements in the 60% of the original Coyote Creek Flood Protection Project, which Reach 8 is in, that will be constructed by 2025. And that coincides with what, Julianne? The other tunnel.
The other tunnel. I'm like, wait. And it's also kind of the other tunnel and then the staging for the dam retrofit as well itself.
So some of you may have heard the Anderson Dam Seismic Retrofit Project. That's tentatively right now scheduled to begin in 2025 or 2026. And for that to be completed, or to begin, I should say, this higher level tunnel will need to be constructed. So our full flood protection project will need to be completed by the time that higher level tunnel is also completed. So essentially 2 trains on a track. Ours is at first, and then the Anderson Dam is behind us. Right behind us, maybe like an inch behind us. What about some other questions that you've received recently on parks? And feel free to raise your hand if this gets the juices flowing.
We'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, there's a question here.
The gentleman here asked a question. Back in 2017, there was the flood right here, right? And he has applied multiple times for assistance. And at this time, to this date, still he hasn't received any answer yet. So he wondered what happened to his application for assistance.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, what type of assistance and to who did he apply to?
not received any help. Or
Is that through FEMA potentially?
he doesn't know what FEMA means.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay, so maybe we can follow up offline so I understand really who he has been speaking with previously. So I think that's probably the best way. Yeah, we can give you our contact information so we can better understand. No problem. Any more questions? Okay, perfect. Okay, great. Thank you. Let me walk my way up back to the front. Any other questions from the audience before I give Julianne another one to field?
I was gonna say, any questions on Facebook yet?
Oh yeah, good.
Oh, okay. Does the project include any additional monitoring stations? After the flooding, the city and the district agreed to do things like put some visual rulers in certain places for people to monitor and report, residents to monitor and report, but you also have a hydrology unit that has gauges and that sort of stuff. Are additional ways to spot potential trouble points included in this project?
Not at this time. I believe there were some additional ones that were installed shortly after the flood. We don't have any plans to add any additional ones beyond that at this point with the project, but we can check in with our H&H team and see if there are any locations where that might be beneficial.
Yeah. Is there a question on Facebook? Oh, you want me to read it? Sure. Does the berm from Phelim to Rocksprings not include the townhouses on Bevan Brook? Are they supposed to get wet?
So we realized today, as we saw the map blown up in person, that there is an error in the map, and and we'll work on getting that fixed and re-put on the website correctly. But yes, the berm actually will go around the Bevan Brook condos, between the condos and the disc golf facility, to protect the those condos.
It's going to be a tight squeeze for a vegetated berm to go through there otherwise.
Yeah.
Any more questions on Facebook? Oh.
So how high is that berm behind that housing area there, and will that create a homeless encampment site with no visibility?
That's a good question. So I actually don't have, hold on. I don't think we actually have the picture right now that says how high it will be, but I believe it's going to be about 4.5 feet high in that area. I think it tapers as it comes to the street. There, I'm sure there are concerns with that, unfortunately, with a lot of the elements that may come up. We can look into incorporating aspects into the design to make it less enticing for homeless to be in the area. Whether some things that we are exploring are security cameras. There's some lights options, and even maybe putting how we vegetate the berm to make it less attractive for those kinds of things. Maybe not poison ivy, but maybe some native shrubs as opposed to grass, and some other aesthetics that we can look into for that.
So let me just repeat the question. So the gentleman asked, can it be designed for visibility to not have any hidden corners?
And yes, we can certainly look into that. That is actually something we're looking into in one of the other vegetated berms, as well as how to make it a more gentle slope and to ensure visibility is maintained.
Yeah, we don't want to have a sheer drop off on the back side that someone can crouch behind or sit behind potentially. There was a question on excuse me. There was a question on Facebook Live, and it said how many trees are going to be removed in the park. So right now, the design is progressing to the 30% phase. So in industry, we typically have 30%, a 60%, 90%, and then you get to a complete design project that you would advertise for construction. Those are the typical industry milestones. Now, we are proceeding forward to the 30%, which is more of a type selection, which will give us the type of wall or the type of berm, the rough geometry and size and locations. That is scheduled to be completed later this fall. So when that is completed, we will know exactly, well, not 100%, but more correctly, what are the impacts going to be. Now let me clarify on the environmental side. Our goal is to not work in the creek channel to begin with, to stay outside the top of banks, number one. We don't want to affect the riparian habitat or the corridor. We also don't want to impact any trees as much as we can. So we're going to work around all the existing trees that we have here. And if for some reason we have to impact them, they will be mitigated, you know, per the agency requirements. So I just hope that was a complete answer. Does he have a follow-up, or does she have a follow-up? Would a flood wall remove for trees, versus the vegetated berm? Not if it's 4 feet tall. And the impacts of a vegetated berm, the area, the width of it on the ground is not very wide. If it was a, I'm thinking like a big levee, for example, that's 5, 10 feet high, the footprint of it, imagine a big trapezoid, that's a big impact area. That's going to have some negative repercussions. But for a little vegetated berm, it's not going to make much of a difference. And actually, it probably will be easier to avoid tree impacts, and especially tree roots, versus excavating or placing a soldier pile wall, a sheet pile wall, or a concrete wall that would require extensive excavation that could affect the tree roots, for example, not just the tree trunk. Now, for explaining mitigation, I'm going to hand the microphone over to our environmental planner, Jen Mitchelson at Valley Water.
Can you repeat the question? I wasn't able to hear it. Mitigation is compensation for impacts to the environment. So it's compensating by replacing trees or in other ways that would have benefits to the environment to compensate for impacts to the environment.
How wide is the berm? This is a question that's coming to us from Facebook.
How wide is the berm? I can't really give you a number right now because we haven't even gone to 30% level yet, but I will say a vegetated berm that's about 4 feet tall, think of it as maybe about 4 to 6 feet wide, plus or minus. The slopes on the sides have to be stable, so you can't vertically just drop off. On a levee or something to that regard, it will be probably wider, but you can assume maybe a 3-to-1 slide slopes, like 3 horizontal, 1 vertical, plus or minus.
Can the berms be designed as a gentle swale so it doesn't look like a big impact to the park? It look like just a small hill. Yeah,
so you can make it as gradual as you want, but you have to keep in mind that as you make it the slopes shallower, right? You go from 3-to-1 to 5-to-1, for example, you're impacting more area, right? But then potentially if you have trees, for example, or tree roots, covering with soil, that it negatively impacts the tree, right? Or if there's a structure, for example, then that's the negative downside of it. Any other questions? How about on Facebook? Oh, perfect. Sure. I have to do math.
So
yes.
Yeah, it would be 12 feet plus then whatever the width of the top of the berm, which would probably be about 4 feet, and then another 12 feet for the other side. So roughly about 28 feet, depending on how tall and how steep the side slopes are.
So obviously, if you want to have a more gentle rolling slope, as the gentleman was discussing, that width greatly increases. Any follow-ups on Facebook? think the gentleman may have a question back here.
Okay, sure.
He said that he has been living here for 15 years. He understands everything about this area. So he would like to participate in an organization to help improving this area.
Oh, absolutely. We'd love to get that contact information. So yeah, why don't you come see us afterwards? We can get your contact information, make sure you're included in any future public meetings as well. Follow up? Okay.
This is on the same topic. So the comment was, so you will clear cut 28 feet.
Not necessarily. It all depends on what's there. So depending on the type of tree and the maturity of the tree, the amount of soil cover that's going to be above the tree roots, for example, those are all going to have to be considered once we know the alignment, the height, and where we need to place that to minimize the impacts. And Jen has a clarification to add to that as well.
And if possible, we would trim the trees back for construction access, or maintain trees when possible. So.
And just to clarify, the berm is not actually going. The new berm is not going to really be at the Rocksprings Park. It's going to be further downstream onto the Valley Water property and around areas where there aren't as many trees already. So the impacts to the trees are going to be pretty minimal. It's not here in the park where there are a lot of trees. Here it's going to be just replacing the flood wall in the current footprint that it is, so that the impacts will be significantly less for this portion. And then actually, if there aren't any current questions, we have Eve from the city. He wanted to make a couple comments. Oh, is that it? Okay.
Hi, Eve Zudi. Julianne, I think you covered that, but I'll just make the point. I think the term vegetated berm is important. Vegetation means there's going to be planting and landscape. So although the berm is not happening in this park, there's no impacts here. Keep in mind the idea of the vegetated berm is it adds to the landscape. It's not a man-made object that's being introduced, obviously built by contractors, but the intent is to naturalize that structure as an amenity.
So the follow-up question is, how does a flood wall take more than 28 feet of width? Okay, so I'm going to get real technical now. There's a couple different ways on which we can address this. So the impact width is one thing. Because if you place 28 feet wide as soil, that's its direct impact. But now let's change and discuss how a flood wall, instead of a levee or a berm, can affect the surrounding area. You have to get access to construct that, right? So let's think of the thinnest type of wall, something like this, a sheet pile wall. It's about 1 to 2 feet thick. It goes vertically into the ground. Now, I can't just press that into the ground myself. You have to have big, heavy equipment that either has to go on one side or potentially both sides. Your big, heavy equipment. A normal traffic lane on a highway is 12 feet wide. Your heavier equipment potentially is definitely wider than that. So if you have to go on both sides, there's your 28 plus feet right then and there. Now you have also a wider impact potentially based on potential vibrations or dust that we would have to control and mitigate for. So these are all the things that we have to account for during the design phase, during the type selection phase, up to 30%. While we are meeting with the public, while we're soliciting your input and saying, okay, you guys are really concerned about vibrations or dust control, or you don't want heavy tracked equipment, okay, we need to incorporate that into our design and potentially now recommend this other alternative of a berm, or vice versa. So it's not just a simple comparison of footprint area. There's other temporary impacts that are potentially wider than the permanent impacts after the fact. Is there a follow-up?
Says, I'm looking at Google Maps, and the whole area from feeling along the boundary of the townhouses is entirely trees.
So it depends on if that's tree canopy or the tree trunk. That's a big distinction. So a tree canopy, the branches can reach over your wall. That can be maybe pruned and cut back without actually negatively impacting the tree. If your tree trunk is located, then that's a different story. And that's a little bit difficult to tell, from an aerial survey.
I would add that the canopy drip line, which is where when it rains and the trees drip to the ground, that all of that area will require mitigation. So if we have to trim trees or if we have to remove trees, all of them will be compensated for by planting other trees or planting them back into the same area where they were removed.
So it may not be removed, but you have to plant more trees.
And Jen, isn't it like a higher ratio? It's not like you take one down, you put one in. There's it varies depending on the type
Depending
of
on
tree.
the species, the size, and
so,
everything, yeah.
But usually you get more than what was there.
Follow-up.
One more question. Are you doing any engineering with the hydrology of the creek itself? Perhaps put a bottleneck at Yerba Buena so the water captures there and flows more slowly through here, for example. Make some floodplains upstream from here.
So we are not, and part of that is there's a couple different reasons. One, we did kind of look at maybe doing something upstream, and we would not be able to make a significant enough impact upstream to avoid some of these measures downstream. Secondly, the timetable that we have. We have a very condensed schedule for both design and construction, and anything that we do inside the creek, inside the creek corridor, requires additional review and coordination with a lot of other agencies that would add significant, we're talking years, to the project, and we do not have that time. So we are trying to make sure that every element we consider is outside of the stream corridor to avoid those extra reviews and delays to the project, because we want to protect the communities as soon as possible, and because of the ties to the Anderson Dam project.
And to add on to that, by adding a constriction, you can't make a flooding condition worse by improving someone else, right? That's not going to fly with us, and nor for any sort of agency, especially FEMA as well. You can't remove people from the floodplain and then add new people to the floodplain that weren't there before. So that's definitely another consideration that we have to factor in our analysis.
Oh, yeah.
So what he has seen is that along the creek, the last time the reason he thinks the reason there was flooding here because many trees fell down and there was no cleanup. And then on top of that, the unhomed people throw out a lot of, like mattresses or whatever. So he was hoping that if he can work with someone to help clean up, and so that the water can go through.
Yeah, that's an ongoing discussion and issue that both I think Valley Water and San Jose have been trying to face and address. There are limitations to also what any of us can do as well, because large woody debris is also a habitat for animals and different species in the creek. So by removing that kind of debris, according to the regulatory agencies, that negatively impacts the species. So our hands are tied a little bit with that one. And then we have to also coordinate with various different agencies or private property owners on who owns where in the creek and who can get access and who can do that work. Unfortunately, to give an easy example, you can't go into your neighbor's backyard and just mow his grass without his permission. So that's the challenges that we face. So we understand the concern, and we look forward to actually working with you to address some of your concerns in the near future.
We have another Facebook question. The city's recent tree report indicated that you don't get more canopy for 15 plus years.
Jen, would you like to answer that question?
I haven't read the tree.
Yeah, we can't really respond. I don't know if Eve, or you have any information on that from the city's perspective.
We have not read the tree report either, but I think it's a takeaway. I guess if you could frame the question.
Yeah. There's a sort of follow-up statement. I don't know if it'll help clarify. It says mitigation of lost trees theoretically is equivalent, but only if you don't allow for time delay for growth and loss of the young trees due to inadequate care subsequent to planting. At least 15 years, it is a deficit.
Yeah, Jen, I think I need to defer back to you on the science behind mitigation.
Just maybe a general high-level summary. Maybe not. I know we haven't read that report, so we can't really respond to it directly, and it's also not our agency. But maybe on a general mitigations, what do you think for replacing trees and canopy to that?
Well, I would agree that it does take a number of years for trees to regrow. And so it depends on the species and where they're located and how much water they get, and annually will determine how fast they grow back. But for sure, it's not overnight, and it does take quite some time for trees to grow their canopies back.
And that's why during our planning phase and even during our design phase, we're going to be really sharpening the pencil to make sure we don't impact trees where we really don't need to. So we're putting on our thinking caps and looking at, how we can maybe change the alignment by maybe an inches or a foot, and that may have a great impact, or lack thereof, I should say, to a tree or two trees. And there you go. That's how you save trees, by really sharpening your pencil and working with our consultant and our team internally and with our stakeholders as well, City of San Jose. We hope to achieve that. No more follow-ups? Oh, okay. Any follow-ups from the audience? No? Well, okay, I think we can maybe wrap it up, Jose.
Well, thank you. Just a couple comments here. First of all, I want to thank our Facebook audience for their questions and for their engagement, as well as our audience that's here, joining us here at Rocksprings Park. And I also want to thank Julianne O'Brien and Alec Nichols for the presentation and their comments and their responses to the questions and the information. So thank you very much. I also want to remind folks that we handed out a survey. Please let us know how we did, but also ask more questions, make some comments, and staff will respond to you. If you can hand it to any of the staff members, we'll be happy to take that. And our contact info is on that form as well too, and also on the one-pager that we share that has information regarding the project. As a reminder, we have all the boards that you see here. If you want to go back and review what we discuss, it's all on the website. Shortly, we'll also have a recording of today's meeting on the website as well. And then also next week on October 13th, we will be having the same, not the same, but we're having a presentation on the elements related to William Street Park and Olinder Park. And that meeting will also start at 4:30 with the open house happening the first 30 minutes of that meeting. And then on October 14th, also starting at 4:30, we're going to be discussing the elements being proposed for Watson Park. And that's and we'll have a presentation for that project as well. And as Alec and as well as our chair mentioned, that this is just the beginning. There's still plenty of opportunity for you to give comments, ask questions, give us your thoughts on the project. We're still going to go to 30% design, 60% design, and 90% design. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity between now and at the very end for you to give us your input and share with us your thoughts on that. So with that, I just want to thank everybody that joined us here today, and to our Facebook audience that joined us. And please take a few moments to fill out the survey. Thank you, everyone, and good night.